Hey guys, it's Sarah, and today I bring to you my very late June wrap-up. I know that July. I don't even know my months anymore. This is almost over, but I never do my wrap-ups on time, so you should know that by now. Unless this is your first time here, then hello. I don't do wrap-ups on time. But anyway, let's just go ahead and talk about the books that I read or listened to in June. I almost said July. Can't get those months straight. So the first book that I finished in June was Once and For All by Sarah Dessen. Once and For All is about a girl named Luna whose mother is a very popular wedding planner. Luna spends most of her time helping her mom with the different weddings that they do, and they're usually pretty glamorous, high budget, that sort of thing. Along the way, Luna meets a boy named Ambrose who is very quirky and offbeat and very different from her type A personality, and she doesn't really like him when she first meets him. And the thing about Luna as well is that she doesn't really believe in happily ever afters or true love because her first love went really tragic slash poorly. I don't really know how you would describe it, but it didn't go well, and so now she doesn't really believe in love. But then there's Ambrose, and he's just all over the place. And yeah, that's really all I can really say to describe the book without giving away things. As a teenager, I truly believed that no one could write a beautiful contemporary like Sarah Dessen. I don't know if I am just romanticizing the past books I read, but I remember them being very good. Once and For All, on the other hand, was not good. Honestly, all the characters in this book were very flat. I didn't really like Luna, and I didn't really like Ambrose, or pretty much anyone in the book. They weren't like bad people or annoying, they just were very two-dimensional. I also thought the romance was very lame, which kind of makes the book just pointless because the whole point of reading a contemporary YA novel is to have a cute romance. I also found the writing style to be very basic, so again, I don't know if I'm romanticizing the books that I read in high school. Like honestly, I have a Sarah Dessen book like right here. This Lullaby was one of my favorites. The characters in this book honestly felt recycled. I felt like Luna was just like the character from The Truth About Forever. I don't remember what her name was, but I just remember her also having like a sort of type A personality, and I just kept thinking about The Truth About Forever when I was reading this. Also, Ambrose was totally a low-budget version of Dexter from This Lullaby, which honestly offended 15-year-old me because I used to love Dexter. He was my favorite Sarah Dessen boy love interest, and Ambrose was just like a really lame, poorly written version of Dexter, and I was upset about it. The next book I read was The Emperor's Ostrich by Julie Berry. Basically, it is a magical adventure tale about this girl named Begonia who is a dairymaid, and she loses her cow. Like her cow roams off, and so she has to go find her cow, and along the way she meets like a bunch of different kooky characters, and she meets a boy named Key who partners up with her to help her get her cow back. And while Begonia is looking for her cow, there is also another storyline happening with the Emperor. Basically, he goes missing just before his 22nd birthday. He was just about to like take the throne and like be emperor of like the empire. Is that what you are when you're emperor of an empire? Or are you emperor of a kingdom? Whatever it is, he was about to be emperor and then he goes missing, and so that story kind of ends up interweaving with Begonia's tale of finding her cow. I know I'm doing a terrible job of describing this book, but it was one of the cutest things I've ever read. Also, it involves an ostrich because it's called The Emperor's Ostrich, just so you know that it doesn't let you down as far as ostriches are concerned. As I said, I absolutely loved this book. I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was so cute. Usually my problem with middle grade is that I feel like the writing is watered down for a younger age demographic. I always use Percy Jackson as an example. I just cannot read that series because it really feels like an 11-year-old boy is like talking to me, and I don't want to talk to an 11-year-old boy when I'm like 25. That's not meant to be shade towards anyone who does enjoy those series. That's just not my preferred writing. I would highly recommend this for anyone who enjoys books like Ella Enchanted. That's honestly one of my favorite books of all time. I've enjoyed that since I was like literally like 11 years old, and even reread it as an adult and love it so much. I feel like it had that same like magic, fun feeling that Ella Enchanted has, and I can't say enough good things about The Emperor's Ostrich. And the next book I read was Every Last Word by Tamara Ireland Stone. I feel like her name is a tongue twister. but hopefully I said it okay. This book centers around a girl named Sam who's in high school as a junior. She's very popular, but what her friends and peers don't know about her is that she has purely obsessional OCD. Basically what this means is it's not very outward, it's very inward, and it's a lot to do with her thoughts, and she spirals a lot and overthinks everything, but to a very obsessional degree. During this school year, Sam meets a girl named Caroline who becomes her new friend, and Caroline's very different from the other popular girls that she's friends with, and she feels like she can really open up to Caroline and talk about her OCD, which she's actually never done with anyone who isn't family or her psychiatrist. And in turn, Caroline is also very open with her and invites her to this thing called Poets Corner, which is basically a secret poet society in the theater of the school. Sam is immediately drawn to this group of people that write poetry because she feels like they can understand her, and she finds that she really enjoys writing, and that's basically all you need to know about this book. I really enjoyed this book. I don't normally like books that take place in a high school setting. Like, I don't really want to read about teenagers going to and from classes and like prom and stuff like that, just because I'm not in high school anymore and I don't want to go back. But something about this book felt different because a lot of it centered around Sam and her OCD. I will admit that the writing style was pretty overbearing and it doesn't really leave a lot to your own imagination. And what I mean by that is just that when Sam is narrating the story, she kind of over explains everything. Like every single thought or thing that happens, she just kind of like will do like paragraphs of like what she's thinking about that thing and like what she thinks she should do. And it was kind of to the point where, because I was listening to it on audio, sometimes I thought she was talking to someone, like telling them how she felt, but really it was just her talking before she was gonna talk, and I just didn't really enjoy that. But besides that, I really enjoyed Sam as a character. I wanted her to succeed and I really felt for her and just wanted her to be able to cope with her OCD and figure out life in high school. And one thing I really loved about this book is that she does have a love interest, but it's really not the main focus of the book. It's definitely something that happens, but he doesn't like save her. I feel like that happens a lot in YA books about mental health. Like, he was very supportive and very helpful and like allowed her to be open with him, but he never was kind of like the reason why she was getting better, if that makes sense. I think it just affirmed this message that you should definitely be with someone who understands you and helps you feel better, but who ultimately can't cure you. And I'd have to say that the number one thing I loved about this book was that Sam had weekly sessions with a psychiatrist who she called Shrink Sue, and Shrink Sue was the best book psychiatrist ever. Like, I don't often read YA books about mental health where they actually are seeking professional help, or if they are seeking professional help, there's usually a lot of like not wanting to open up and stuff. But when we enter the story, Sam's already been seeing this woman since she was 10 years old, and so it was just really refreshing to see like good advice and things happening with mental health and like an actual psychiatrist being present and like, you know, prescribing Sam meds and like giving her advice about those things. And it just was like the best representation in my opinion. The next book I read was The Siren by Kiera. So basically in this book there is a girl named Colin who 80 years ago was in a shipwreck and the ocean saves her, and in exchange for saving her, the ocean basically asks her if she'd like to become a siren. And so the way that works is she has to be a siren for 100 years, and all she has to do for the ocean is like sing and like make people crash like sirens do. It's never really explained why the ocean needs this to happen, but that's just kind of like how it works in the book. And the ocean, as you can tell, is like personified and like has a personality and like talks to Colin throughout the book. I gave this book 1 star. I'd have to say it was extremely lame. And I know many other booktubers who love this book or like gave it rave reviews, and I just like don't get it. I honestly only finished it because I listened to it on audio, and I still consider DNFing at least 10 times. To sum it up, it's basically major insta-love, flat characters, and bad writing. The only thing I liked about the book was the concept of the ocean being personified, and also the world building around sirens. I feel like those things were really fleshed out, but like I said, the writing wasn't very good in my opinion, so the story kind of fell flat for me. I kept thinking repeatedly that it would have been a really good book if it was written by someone besides Kiera. Kiera is definitely not my favorite author. I actually DNF'd the selection series, so I probably should have known that I wouldn't like this book. But like I said, I saw other booktubers who I really respect and like their videos say they liked this book, so I was like, I'm gonna give it a chance. But I regret giving it a chance because it wasn't good and I feel like I wasted my time. The last book I read was Spellcaster by Claudia Gray. It centers around a young witch named Nadia who in the very beginning of the novel moves to this town called Captive Sound. I kind of thought of this town like Cape Cod or something because I don't think it actually exists, but it's like near the ocean, so just picture it on Cape Cod. When Nadia arrives in this town, she kind of senses that there's dark evil going on because she's a witch and she can like feel magic and stuff. We also have a character named Mateo who has lived in Captive Sound his whole life, but unfortunately his family is supposedly cursed. He keeps having strange dreams about rescuing a beautiful girl who, of course, ends up being Nadia. So similar to the Siren, if I hadn't listened to this on audio, I definitely would have DNF'd it. Definitely wasn't the worst thing I've ever read, but it also was definitely not good. The writing style was really simple and it kind of over-explained everything. It was written from the perspective of an omniscient narrator. Try saying an omniscient narrator 10 times fast because I've been struggling to say it once for like the past 5 minutes. I just don't really enjoy very revealing inner monologues when it's written from that perspective because if it's not written in first person, I don't really want to know the thoughts of the character, if that makes sense. It was also very predictable and I found the characters to be pretty flat, so it just wasn't the best thing ever. It's pretty typical like YA witch book. Like you could have just like switched out the supernatural creatures for anything and it would just be like instant YA novel. It could be like vampires, werewolves, whatever, but it just happens to be witches in this one. And those are all the books that I read in June. I actually think I did a pretty good job. Basically, I just stopped pretending that I was gonna physically read and just gave in to listening to audiobooks to my heart's delight, and I was able to finish a lot of them. Let me know down below what your favorite reads were from June, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you all so much for watching. You're all beautiful. Have a nice day.
Searching for bases, covering up the hole. I'll fight for your love, I'll fight